elementary school in the middle of the day, a violent crime. We have to stop that. It's getting too much. Too much violence are in schools. Schools are safe haven. He made the choice to enter that school. He made the choice of going up to the 2 or 3 flights of stairs. He made the choice of entering my classroom. He made the choice of attacking me, beating me, raping me, almost killing me. Those were his choices.
We just heard from the survivor, a special ed teacher who was assaulted in the sanctuary of her classroom. Now, he was 16 years old at the time, and he was convicted in May 8th, 1980, and given a life sentence. But because of the 2010 Supreme Court ruling saying it was unconstitutional, he now has a chance at parole. This will be his first parole hearing. Now, this particular case strikes home for me, as my grandmother was a special ed teacher, and she was assaulted in her classroom. I'll get into the details of that in the unpacking, and we'll also go over the court documents. With that, let's jump in.
Mr. Macon, you're currently 60 years old, and you're a first felony offender. You've been incarcerated for the last 43 and a half years. You were 16 years old at the time of incarceration. Is that correct?
That's right.
Your offense is aggravated rape, and you were sentenced on May 19th, 1980, and your sentence was life. At the time you were sentenced to life without benefit of probation, parole, or suspension and sentence. You've since got a parole date, and that parole date is October 26, 2007. You don't earn any good time, and your current sentence is life. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And your case has been assigned to Mr. Freeman. Would you please answer Mr. Freeman's question?
Okay, Mr. Macon, how old are you?
60. 60.
Okay. And how long have you been in jail?
43 and a half years.
Okay. What's your educational level?
I have my GED and a couple location.
Okay. What kind of vocations did you get?
Sir.
What kind of vocations have you got?
For welding and automotive.
Back in 2020, you were denied because of a lack of a transitional plan. Do you have a residency plan now?
Yes, sir.
Is it approved? Because the last we got that it wasn't approved. You know, Warden?
I don't know, Mr. Freeman. I know he submitted a address with the sister, Miss Ann White, and on College Street in Shreveport, Louisiana. I don't know if it's been approved by probation and parole yet or not. I can check while it's here and go in and see if we've got any notice from him.
One good one. We do have the denial letter. It was denied, and basically PNP has not approved that effect.
Okay. How old were you when you committed this crime?
16.
Were you using any drugs at that time, alcohol?
No, sir. Never used drugs and never drank.
Okay. I mean, what led you to do this crime? I mean, what triggered you?
Oh, I was being so young. I didn't really know what I was doing. I mean, because I mean,
Do you
Okay.
admit this crime?
yes, sir,
Okay, so you do remember doing
right.
it, okay? How do you think the victim felt after you committed this crime?
Well, I think, the victim, I ain't really had no contact with the victim.
No, he said, how do you think the victim felt?
Oh.
What kind of,
Yeah, what kind of damage you think you done?
she go first? Yeah, how do you think her emotional state was after the crime?
Right.
You think it was good, bad? I mean, he's asking you your opinion because you haven't had any contact with the individual, but he's asking you your opinion.
I think she was feeling bad. It was, I was wrong. And, I think, she was feeling bad. I knew she was feeling bad. I didn't, at that time, I didn't really know what I was doing. I be
And you
doing,
said you didn't know what you were doing. Was it because of your mental state? I mean, why you didn't know what you was doing?
but I just, you had to feel bad. And
Next is, what about your juvenile record? You ever arrested as a juvenile?
yes, sir.
How old were you?
I do the record. This round 11, 12 years old.
It says you were pretty young. I think you were around 8 years old. Law enforcement is strongly opposed. The DA, the sheriff, the chief, your family is unopposed. The victim is strongly opposed and will speak to us later. What kind of classes have you taken?
They said, my vocational skills, got my GED. I took,
Substance abuse and sex offenders. Tell them about the program.
Yeah.
In fact, not your education classes, but the self-help program.
but I finished the, sex offense class. It's, I'm a tutor now in sex offense class. And,
From your sex offense class.
sir,
What did you learn from your sex offense class?
oh, I learned not to, I learned that, I was wrong. It gave me all kind, put me in a situation where I've been, like I say, I wasn't thinking right. I wasn't thinking straight as a kid. And, the sex offense class really helped me, to understand I was wrong. It also stepped me up. I respect, I accepted my responsibility to what I did.
Okay, your medium custody, you had 80 write-ups, but they were all right after you got over there. In 2008, it was your last write-up. Your risk is low, your institutional record is fair. I see you have some mental health problems. What kind of problems do you? And are you on medication?
Yes, I'm I'm still on medication. I was taking on the outside. I was taking everything on the street. And like I said, I finished the class. And because it really made me recognize my responsibility to accept the things that I changed, respect that I should.
Rodney, he's asking you now about your medication that you're taking, and he wants to know about your mental health and what you do to maintain your mental health. And that's what
It's
On medication?
on my medication,
Yeah, in the prison, take medication.
sir.
Do you take medication?
Take medication in the prison warden. Does he take medication?
He does, Mr. Freeman. He has a diagnosis, and then he sees Dr. Seal on a scheduled regular basis, and he's on medication, and he's compliant with his medication.
Warden, why don't you going to tell us what you have to say about this, mate?
Well, I've known Rodney Macon since 2001, I guess, when he came here. I've known him over 20 years, and he mentioned the fact he hadn't had any write-up since 2008. I see Rodney quite often. I see him in the pill call line. I see him in the dining room. I see him around the institution, and he's very active in inmate activities. He's like you mentioned, he's completed phase 4 of the sex offender program, so he helps in the presentation of that information to the other offenders that are at lower levels than he's completed. Rodney, he's pretty nervous today, if you can't tell. I mean, he and I have good conversations quite often, and he's much more outgoing when it's just me and him. He's obviously very nervous today. We've talked about this crime that he's in prison for on more than one occasion. And, Rodney's always expressed quite a bit of remorse for his behavior and his actions. And, a lot of his, maybe he's just not able to express himself as well today as I've heard him talk before, but he does well at the institution, Mr. Freeman. He's not a problem offender. He's been active in programming. He mentioned he got his GED. He's taken other programming as well. And he does have this life sentence. He is over 60 years old now. He turned 60 this past October. And he's been incarcerated a long, long time. Like I say, I've known him for 21 years of the time that he's been incarcerated. And I've never had any problems out of offender Macon. And I think he, as long as he's on his medication and following his regimen on his medication and his appointments with mental health, he doesn't have any problems. He does really well. He stays structured. He stays in the right direction. He's not a negative individual. He's very positive at the institution, and he doesn't get involved in things that would have negative consequences on him. He's a very positive individual. And I can't say anything negative about Rodney. He's done well in 21 years I've known him. He's very approachable. I talked to him a lot. He's expressed a lot of remorse for this crime, and he does a good. He's a good inmate. He's a model inmate at this institution. That's all I have, Mr. Freeman.
Hey, thank you,
Any
Boyd.
questions?
All I have, Mr. Chairman.
Of course, now I understand now. I get it now that you are nervous today, because when I heard that you were a tutor for sex offender classes, so it let me know you do some talking. You're a lot more talkative than when you've been with us today. And you kept saying that you were young and you weren't thinking right. But when I go back to that crime, it was during the time of the school day when everybody was gone, except that teacher in that classroom. So you were thinking, you planned that. Is that correct, say?
No, man, I didn't plan on it. It was, I went, I
But
didn't
take
plan,
me,
I didn't
take me,
plan. Yeah.
Or she's asking you how you ended up committing the crime then if you didn't plan it. I mean, that's what she's asking you. Why did you commit the crime if it wasn't planned? Then why did you commit the crime? What made
because
you
you
commit?
were not enrolled at that school. You used to attend that school. You were not enrolled at that school on that particular day. And it was between 3 and 4 in the afternoon when most of the school, everybody's gone. She was just in there doing her job, getting some things together. So you timed it perfectly when you ain't heard nobody there. That's why I'm asking you. And you say you weren't thinking about it. So take me back to that day. What have you thought about it? In these 40 years you've been in jail, what have you come to the conclusion of?
Just relax, take your deep breath and explain to Ms. Wise what you need to explain to her. Okay?
Because you said the tutor. I know you have guys deal with this all the time.
Take your deep breath and just talk to her.
Well, like I said, I didn't plan this. I didn't plan on going. I was in the school, going through the school parking lot, and it was a shortcut way through the store to the store. I was going to pick up some items for my car, and I seen her. I seen her in the classroom. I started walking through the classes. I didn't know she was there. I was just going through the classes, and she asked me, "Do I work here?" I told her no. She asked me, "Did I come here to clean up?" I said no. And she said, "What are you doing here? What do you want?" So I told her that I told her that she was attracted, and so I just went up through the classes, going looking through all the classes. You know, it wasn't some plan like I was going up to plan on raping that woman. So so I just went in her room and she started walking toward the door, and I grabbed her. I don't know why. You know, there's no why. You know, that I planned this. I definitely didn't plan it. That's all.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you for answering my questions. Thank you. That's all I had, Tim.
Mr. Macon. Mr. Macon,
Yes,
can you hear me?
yes, sir.
So you were going to the store to pick up some items for your dad, right?
All right.
Why did you have to walk through a school?
It's a shortcut way from where we lived at to the store. You just go through.
Why did you have to walk through the building? You could have walked through the yard.
Why were you inside? Why were you inside instead of cutting through the yard? Why did you go inside the building? That's what he's asking.
It's just we always went. My brothers and sisters, other teachers, they always just use a shortcut. We just it's a short way to go. And
Now, Mr. Macon, you were student at that school at one time, right?
Yes, sir.
Why were you not in school at that time?
Oh, I had moved on to another school. I was at this school for about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, what was the reason why you left that school? Oh, did you get expelled?
No, sir. I graduated from that school like from
Elementary school?
I
So you
graduated-
okay, so you had passed that level and you were at another school.
yes, sir.
So if you didn't plan it, why did you physically attack Miss Wiley? Why did you, and I'm quoting from the police report, you beat, choked, hit, you bit her, and you slammed her to the ceramic tile floor and hit her head, grabbed her hair, and smashed her head to the floor multiple times. Why would you do that if you didn't plan homework when you went in?
Excuse me. I went, like I said, I went to the school, through the school, and I didn't plan no one being in the building. I didn't know nobody was in the building. So like I said, it was a shortcut way to the store. I had no plans on going in that building and raping that woman.
He's asking about the violence that the victim suffered through the violence, about, what he's reading from the police report. He's asking you if you didn't plan all that, if you didn't plan to do it, why did you end up being so violent with the victim? That's what he's asking you.
Well, like I say, the victim, when I opened up her door, and she was in there, putting together a doll or something. And I really can't remember doing
Sir, you don't get that violent with the individual unless you had some kind of premeditated reason for being in that school.
sure.
Can you explain your actions of your violence against the victim? That's what he's wanting you to explain, Rodney. If you can't explain it, then tell him you can't explain it, but he's asking you specific questions, and you need to answer the question if you can.
But being violent, she I don't know, man. She tried to run, I guess, go out the school door, and in fact, I learned that there was several teachers still there in the school. I wouldn't pick her out.
If a 16-year-old stranger walked in my classroom after school hours, acting very peculiar, I would start running too.
Yeah.
So you can't explain why you violently beat, bit, threw a person to the floor, smashed their head on the floor multiple times, then you sexually assault. Thank you, sir. At this time, we'll hear from Van Sanders, a friend and a minister and probably a spiritual advisor to the offender. Reverend Sanders?
Yes. First off, I'm in the Catholic Church. I'm a lay minister. I'm not a ordained minister. I'm a lay minister. And
Okay,
I volunteer to teach courses there at David Wade and have been doing it since roughly 2014. And some of the courses we've taught up there are Be a Man by Father Larry Richards, which is a DVD, and also some by Scott Hahn and Jeff Caven and several others. And one of the things I would say about meeting Rodney is Rodney was at first, when he came into the classroom, was kind of shy and timid. But over a period of time, he's still kind of shy and timid, but he speaks up. He speaks up on the issues. And we have had some very good conversations about God, about Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit. And the thing I think that impressed me most was I didn't find this out until we came back, because COVID took a toll on the men at David Wade, and I imagine took a toll upon the men and women at other correctional institutions also. But the thing I think that impressed me about Rodney is that he was consoling men who had lost parents, who had lost brothers and sisters and friends. He had taken the time to find a way to console them there at David Wade. And plus, David Wade has a hospice program. And one of the men that is at David Wade, a man by the name of William Brown, he works hospice. And also another man by the name of Mike Blanc, he also works hospice. And one of the things that they shared was the opportunity when Rodney was able to talk to the men who had lost family members and friends. And I think he lives by, he says he will stand on the word of God. That's what he lives by. And that's, I believe, what he is all about, standing on the word of God. And the only way I can say this, he is sorry for what he did. And he realizes how painful it was for the victim. And I think he is ready to be allowed to come back into society. And he understands what the meaning of restorative justice is, because we talk about it in the class, and to be let back into the society. And I would end by saying this. In my lifetime, I'm 77 years old. I spent 29 years in the Air Force, and you have all that in my letter. But I would end by saying this. I am proud to know Rodney because of the very simple reason that Rodney talks to the other men in his own quiet way, and they look to Rodney. And you can tell as he's a leader, an informal leader, and that's a beautiful thing. And I know, and I'll say, I know he's sorry for what he did at 16 years of age. And I think he would be a good citizen back out here with us. And that's where I'll end it.
thank you, Mr. Sanders, and thank you for your work with the offenders at David Wade. Mr. Clarence Samuels, a friend.
Yes. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Rodney's friend. I've been his friend since my 15 years at David Wade. I discharged in September of 2013. Rodney impressed me by his character as an inmate. As an inmate, you get to see all kinds. You see the people you know are just riding to the core, and you see other people who did something crazy a long time ago, and they have had that attached to them. So no matter how they change, that bad thing they did, although it's not a part of the character anymore, it holds them down. And Rodney, I gotta go back a little bit. One good one helped me to get into substance abuse. I had to tell you about my record to show you how people can change. I committed simple robbery in the late 80s, got on probation for that, while on probation for that, committed another simple robbery and an armed robbery. Served 6 years for that, got out on supervised release, and committed another one. 3. I went to jail for 15 years, and I said, listen, I was on drugs when I committed those crimes, so please help me get some substance abuse treatment so that I can be whole when I get out this time. One good one got me into the best program in the state. When I returned to David Wade, it was cold. It was holiday season. All I had was a jumpsuit. The warehouse was closed, but Rodney went in his dormitory and came out with jeans, underwear, socks, sweatshirt, so that I would be warm. Literally gave me clothes off his back. And we had this friendship for the 9.5 years that I've been out. I got out, like I said, September 2013. I went to work at the Tyson plant here in Center, Texas. My wife was able to retire, and I was able to change. I'm respected in the community, respected at work. And if I could do that with that horrendous record, I had a pattern. By my record, I shouldn't be walking the streets now. But now here I am respected. My wife is retired. I support my family. If I could do that with the help of Warren Goodwin, and he's speaking well of Rodney, then I think we should take Warren Goodwin at his word and take me at my word. I knew this man. He did a horrendous thing when he was 16 years old. He acted on impulse.
Samuel,
But
wrap it up. Wrap it up, Mr. Samuels. Wrap it up.
all right, the man he's changed. He's not that person who did that bad thing. And how long is long enough? I mean, he's an old man. I can help him get a job. I've been saving money. I'm going to support him to the best of my ability. He won't be a burden on society. He's a decent person. He should be seen for the person he is now. He may not speak well. He doesn't come with a rehearsed speech, but he feels remorse. I know he feels remorse because I've witnessed self-harm over the years. I felt remorse. I tried to kill myself in prison. He tried to kill himself in prison way back in the day because of the remorse, the self-hate, because of what we did wrong. That's part of the growing process. And then we recover.
Samuel, over 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Ms. Ann White. Ms. White. Would you please give us your name and your state?
Annie White. You got him from you, Annie White.
I'm Annie White.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Make a state.
Rodney is my brother, a half brother. I've been trying to get him out of jail since it started when he was in Angola. We were able to get him out of Angola and get him to David Wade, and for a while Fort Wade, until it closed. And he's able to stay here with me. I have a large house, and he's more than welcome here. I've been trying to get him out of jail for unknown years. And I would just like him home, because I feel like 40 years he's been there almost. How long should he pay for a crime that he did when he was a young man? That's all I really got to say. I would just like him home.
Are you the one that live on West College Street?
Yes, I am.
Okay, that residence has been denied. I don't know.
What?
Yeah, that residence plan has been denied. We don't have a reason.
Well, Miss Jennifer,
Yes, ma'am.
when I talked to her, she said she had been trying to reach me and hadn't been able to reach me. So she had Rodney to call me, and I called her, and she said, well, I had problems reaching you, and I denied it. I said, I don't know why, because I talked to another probation officer. He came here and I talked to him, and she said, oh, he's not the one that handled the case. He was just doing a probation thing. But when I talked to her, she said, well, you've done all you can do. You have to, Rodney have to do the rest. And she didn't say what the rest was, but when I talked to Rodney, he said, yeah, I know what I have to do. I have to file again for residency. He is welcome here, and I'm sorry that I wasn't able to talk to Miss Jennifer before then.
But Jennifer has the correct phone number now?
She has the correct phone number and she has the correct address.
Very good, very good. All right, that's what I wanted to know.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Ms. White.
So that's
Now, thank you. Well, now we'll hear from Ms. Patricia Wido, the victim. Ms. Wido, would you please open your mic, give us your name and your statement.
I am Patricia Waddle. My name was Patricia Welch back during the attack. I was a young mother, two-year-old child at home. Just started my teaching career, graduated from college, was excited, assigned a third grade classroom. And did I survive? Yes, I survived. I finished my career. I did 43 years in the field of education, taught children with disabilities, children from poverty, was involved with Head Start. But not a day goes by that I don't feel the trauma and the scars that I suffered that day. When I got home that evening, I'm sorry, I thought I could do this without tearing up, but I'm trying. When I got home that evening, my 2-year-old child, I held him because I thought I was going to die. I knew I was going to die. And the only thing I could think of was my child. I had to go home to my baby because he had a disability and he needed a mother. And he looked at my face that was all swollen and he just said, "Mommy, are you okay?" And I said, "Yes, I'm okay." But he chose to go to that school. My classroom was on the 3rd floor, 2nd or 3rd floor. I don't remember. It was not on the ground floor. So if he was making a shortcut through the building, why did he go upstairs? I was teaching 3rd graders who didn't have much. And I was putting in a playhouse so they could have a place to pretend. And he came in, and at first I thought he was a cleaner because they used a lot of young teenagers to clean the classrooms. And the minute I found out that he wasn't, I tried everything I could to get out of that classroom. I got to the door. So many times I reached for the doorknob and he would yank me back. Even through my entire career, I could never have my door closed because, and the principal for 43 years would come by and close my door and I would open it because I couldn't understand why I was so fearful of being stuck in a classroom with a closed door. But now I know why. It's because I wanted so badly to get out, to escape, to survive, to live. This was done in an elementary school in the middle of the day, a violent crime. We have to stop that. It's getting too much. Too much violence are in schools. Schools are safe haven. He made the choice to enter that school. He made the choice of going up to the 2 or 3 flights of stairs. He made the choice of entering my classroom. He made the choice of attacking me, beating me, raping me, almost killing me. Those were his choices. And I just can't fathom being released back out where he can make that choice again and maybe have more victims or even a child. So thank you for this opportunity. That's all I have to say is I have suffered. I survived, but I've suffered. Thank you.
Ms. Wido. Mr. Macon, would you like to make a very brief closing statement?
Yes, sir. You know that kids have committed all kind of crimes out in the free world. And like I said, I'm very sorry for what I did. very sorry. Not, it's something I had to live with for the rest of my life. Remorse. And now I understand how the victim felt. But 40 years in prison, that I don't understand. Saying, I wish she wished I'd die in prison. And I don't want to die in prison. And thank you.
I would recommend executive session.
Thank you, Mr. Macon. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second that we go into executive session to discuss confidential matters. Would you please call a roll? Yes.
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 We're going into executive session at 12 o'clock. We will return in a few minutes. The committee of parole is back in session. Time is 12:03. Is the panel ready to vote?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Okay, no doubt that Mr. Macon has committed a very horrendous crime. And he was a teenager at the age of 16. I do believe he probably had seen Miss Waddle before and thought she was a very nice looking lady, and it probably was premeditated. But the fact is, Mr. Macon, you served 43 years. You've had a good prison record, a good disciplinary record. You had good comments from the warden. So I'm going to vote to grant with electronic monitoring and a curfew of 9 to 6. I want you to get a mental health evaluation and follow any recommended treatment. Warden, hopefully he'll be sent home with 2 weeks of medicine, and the probation officer will be notified that y'all have an appointment set up for it.
Absolutely.
Can't get to that evaluation, you call your probation officer and they will get you there. Okay? Because I think you need to stay on your medicine 100%. This is a very, very, very tough case, but that's my vote today.
Mrs. Wise.
Mr. Rodney, I'm having a hard time. Ms. Wallow, I can just sense that you rendered excellent service on your 40 years in education. I commend you for that. You made the adjustments. I really commend you for that. A lot of students are better off because you touched their lives. But Rodney, you didn't answer my questions the way I thought you should. I don't think that you and I hope when you talk to the young men, you prepare them to own their crime. Go ahead and process it and go ahead and figure it out, because you're gonna be asked about it at a hearing. Or pass that on, to other guys, down the road. But the community support that you have, the family support that you have, and the positive comments from the warden, I'm inclined to take a chance on you. My vote is to grant as well, and I concur with the special conditions that's been set forth by my colleague, and that is my vote.
Rodney, you have received 2 votes to grant your request with attached conditions. Rodney, you interviewed with very poor. You did not answer our questions. And based on adamant opposition from the victim, based on opposition from the judge in the first JDC, who's strongly opposed, opposition from the Caddo Parish DA's office, opposition from the Caddo Parish Sheriff, Steve Prater, and opposition from the Chief of Police of the city of Freeport, Louisiana. I'm going to deny your request. Based on a vote of 2-1, your request for early release has been denied. You have a good day. Warden Goodwin,
Yes, sir.
this concludes our hearings at David Wade. As always, thank you for facilitating, and we take your comments and remarks in the highest regards, and we appreciate you. And time is 12:07 p.m. You have a good day, Warden.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all. Y'all have a good day. Rodney, you got 2 votes, huh?
Nothing like a Mr. O'Shea mic drop. And I don't know if you caught it there at the end when he said opposition by Mr. Prater, the sheriff, who is now a parole board member who we get to see quite often. That's interesting to tie it in all together. Wow. You know, where do I start? So I want to start with, thank you, Mr. O'Shea. I mean, having a victim survivor advocate, just the importance of that. Because seeing Mr. Freeman come in there and say those things like, yeah, he thought you were a good looking lady. I think it was, premeditated, but you've served 43 years and, you were young when it happened. And then Miss Wise comes in, yeah, it was intense, but you have community support and family support. And it's like, what community? He has an inmate come in who literally just jabbers and jabbers and jabbers. Mr. O'Shea has to shut him up. He doesn't get the hint. He laughs while when he's. Then we see his relative who doesn't seem to have the ability to communicate properly with the parole officer. That's not quality support. I mean, to get denied in the application process, this is not a good sign. Remember, they're saying how important it is that he have the proper, and it's a whole different argument conversation when you say that they send inmates out with just 2 weeks supplies of a required medication. And that to me is nuts. It's like invest some good money after you lock someone up for 43 years. Just give them a 2 month supply. It's difficult for us to find a doctor. Try to find a doctor and get a prescription in 2 weeks' time from scratch. It's not easy. Now try to do it coming out of prison. I digress. Something that stuck out. You had the preacher who comes there, and he's it wasn't the worst of speeches. We've heard worse, and there are parts of him that I thought was endearing. But what I didn't hear him say was, so he's spending the preacher's spending all this time with him, and he talks about how he would be there for inmates when they lost family, how he would be there for them. And he talks about all those things, but never did he once say that he had expressed remorse for what he had done, that he is suffering in the guilt of what he had done. Never did he say that. The only thing the preacher said is that I know he is remorseful. I know he is sorry, but never did he say that he actually expressed remorse to him. And I think that that's telling. Now, this case hits home for me, like I had said in the opening line. My grandmother, she's passed away maybe 6-7 years ago now. But You know what? I was about to share the story of my grandmother and her experience as a special ed teacher, but I'm actually going to bring on my 95-year young grandfather to tell you the story from him directly. So let's jump in. I want
It's going
to.
to be a little corny, but I'll give you a nice speech. You can edit it if you want.
Okay, so we are going to have my 95-year young grandfather tell the story about my grandmother, how she got her master's degree, became a special ed teacher, and then what happened with her that changed her life forever. So, grandfather, can you please share the whole story with our audience?
I'd be very happy to. Let me go back to 1950 when I was federalized into the United States Army when the Korean War broke out with the 43rd Infantry Division. As I was sent to Virginia for training before we were supposed to be sent to Korea, my wife in her senior year wanted to come to me and stay with me since we were just married 2 months earlier. And I said to her, my job as a soldier is to protect my country. Your job as a student is to finish your degree and become a teacher, which she did. Years later, after raising 4 beautiful little daughters, I decided to make a big change in my profession, and I had to cut my salary in half. And this caused my wife to go back to school to help out with the income, and she started substituting. But in order to be a special ed teacher, which was available to her at that time, she had to go back to school to do her master's degree to be specialized. And she did, studying all day, taking care of 4 daughters and a very demanding husband. She completed her degree in MBA with a cum laude and became a special ed student in the elementary level, where she did a beautiful job for 18 years. Later on, she was transferred to the high school because she wanted half time, having been burnt out working with special ed kids so long. In her class, she had one student who was taken to jail. He was in his senior year. She gave him work to do to jail to complete his degree. He did not do his work, and so she did not allow the degree to be passed because she flunked him. He said, if you flunk me, I'm going to kill you. Even with that threat, she just couldn't see him being accepted in the degree program since he didn't do the work. Well, the day came and the student said to Mrs. Beware, I think the student is coming after you with a gun. And he did. And he opened the door, but the police were warned and stayed through just in time before he had an opportunity to fire the gun. But she was so dramatized, she left school at that time, it was in early May, and never returned. And she missed out on her retirement by 2 months to get her full retirement because of the event. She was so traumatized that she left. And never did she go back to teaching. And even when I walked behind her, she would yell at me saying, do not walk behind me. It scares me. It stayed with her until she passed. But she was a hero, and I'm very proud of what she did. And that's the story.
Well, thank you for sharing with us.
How was that part? Okay?
Oh, it was perfect. You can bring up the part about how you said, how can you give up on a full pension? Just go back to school.
I tried, but she was stubborn as an ox. And you know, another off the limit, she had a chance to finish off 2 more quarters for her Social Security, to collect Social Security. And all she had to do was work 20 hours a week in a jewelry store, which she knew how to do because she worked it for her sister. She wouldn't do it.
Was it because of the incident, or she just didn't? She was just ready to
No,
retire.
no, she says, if you're not working, I'm not working.
That's fine.
Well, I hope that helps you with. Tell me, did you get your problem solved with your?
It's bringing up some issue I'm having with my car right now, but I talk to him almost every day, and man, 95 years young, and you really wouldn't know it. You go into his home, and it looks like a millennial lives there. Everything is modern, and he has all the newest technology, and he uses it. He has Pandora and Spotify, and he watches on YouTube, actually, on his smart TV. He watches at night with us on the premieres. Just full of life, energy. He's got a busier schedule than I have. I don't know where he gets it from, but they don't make him like that anymore. Now I remember this story from my grandmother a little differently, but maybe just a little different details. I remember she had mentioned that he had come there with the gun, and I can't remember how it was stopped. Maybe they had a security person stationed by her door because they heard of the threat, and that person had stopped them. I can't quite remember, but it was enough where she didn't show up to school again. And that's where I'll circle back to just the bravery of this survivor. We heard that this incident happened in the beginning of her career, and then she went on to work more than was it almost 20 something years? And there's always a challenge when we have a question, when we have different people come up for these hearings. Do we blur their face or do we not? Now, I want to preface this by stating that everyone who comes on to the Louisiana parole hearings has an option to have their face shown or not have their face shown. Now, how well that is communicated to them is a different question. I don't know. But there are certain people that I take the precaution and I blur their face. And it's a judgment call. And I know that's not the best place to be. But there are others where it gets to the point where I feel like, would they be insulted if we blurred their face? And that's why I'm making the choice not to blur hers, because she's standing up, in my opinion, as a symbol of strength, as a survivor, as someone who didn't let it change or didn't make her stop doing what she was passionate about doing, which was teaching special ed children. And I thought that, she represents something, and that she is a true survivor. Now, with the information on this case that Richard shared, it doesn't really go into a lot of the details, but he did initially have a life sentence. Then it was dropped down to 50 years. And then he had on an appeal. Then he had another appeal to say that, well, the 50-year sentence is still like a life sentence. And then they agreed with him on his final appeal. They said, well, he served 20 years of his life sentence. He reached the age of 45. So we amend his sentence. And that's that. And that's basically why he's able to come up for these parole hearings. It seems like it's Act 122, which that's basically by the terms of it, and maybe that's why the parole project was there. But it doesn't exactly fit into that shoe or category. But Act 122 was basically had those similar conditions. Here it just goes over. It says, on May 8, 1980, he was convicted of aggravated sexual assault when he was 16. But other than that, it doesn't carry those details. But, it's something that you can argue is definitely overlooked with the whole Act 122 thing, and that's what you put the survivors through. And are you surprised, Mr. Pete Freeman and Miss Wise Granted? Well, that's why we have Mr. Roche. And thank you, Richard, for sharing the information. And with that, I'll let you go.